The night wind whispered through the desert village, carrying the scent of hot sand and distant jasmine. Lanterns swayed gently, casting trembling shadows on the walls of stone houses. Far beyond the village, the forest's edge trembled under the moonlight, and the faint sound of drums echoed from the mountains. Villagers spoke in hushed tones about a mysterious presence that had been seen roaming the savannah and riverlands at twilight. They called it the Sila, a being of smoke and shadow, whose beauty could charm even the strongest warrior, and whose illusions could trap the unwary. Among the villagers was Rashid, a skilled hunter known for his courage and sharp eyes. That night, he stood near the riverbank, listening to the soft ripple of water and the distant croak of frogs. Fireflies danced in the dark, their tiny lights flickering like spirits guiding travelers. Rashid had heard the tales of the Sila, but he had never seen her. Still, something tugged at his heart, a strange pull toward the forest, a feeling that the unseen eyes of a powerful being were upon him. In the mountains, the ancient elders of the kingdom gathered in a small stone chamber. They had felt a shift in the spiritual winds, a disturbance in the balance between the human world and the realm of the mystical. Warrior ancestors, whose spirits roamed the desert and savannah, stirred uneasily. Their whispers, carried on the wind, spoke of a being both enchanting and dangerous. "She walks between worlds," said one elder, his voice quivering like the wind through the date palms. "Her illusions are stronger than the mightiest king's army. The forest and the riverlands tremble at her passing." Rashid tightened his grip on his spear. He felt the hairs on his neck rise as the wind grew colder, carrying a faint shimmer of silver smoke that vanished before his eyes could fully focus. The drums from the mountains beat faster, though no one had lit a fire to call them. Somewhere in the distance, a faint melody, soft, haunting, almost human, rose from the savannah. Rashid's heart raced. He knew instinctively that the Sila was near. The village children huddled around the elder's fire, staring wide-eyed at the shadows flickering against the walls. Stories poured from the lips of the elders, of hunters lured by her beauty into the mountains, of kings who lost their kingdoms to her cunning, of rivers that rose and fell in response to her moods. The firelight made her appear alive even in stories, a woman of flowing silver hair, eyes glowing like moonlit pools, and a voice that could sway the soul. Rashid moved silently, guided by an unseen hand of fate. The river sparkled beneath the moon, and the fireflies formed a delicate path into the forest. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant howl of a wolf, the whisper of wind through the reeds, felt like a warning. Yet he stepped forward, drawn by curiosity and the courage that had defined him all his life. High above, the mountain peaks glowed faintly in silver moonlight. Somewhere between the desert and the forest, the Sila watched, her form shifting between shadow and smoke. Her eyes, deep and hypnotic, seemed to pierce the veil between worlds. The hunter was approaching her domain, but the first touch of mystery had only begun. In the silent desert night, the story of seductive illusion, danger, and ancient magic was about to unfold. The wind whispered again, soft yet urgent. "Beware. The Sila waits." Rashid moved deeper into the forest, the fireflies forming a wavering path as if guiding him. The night air grew thick with a metallic scent, mixed with the faint aroma of jasmine and wet earth. Shadows danced between twisted trees, and every crack of a twig underfoot sounded like a warning drum. The hunter's heart pounded, not with fear alone, but with a strange anticipation, as though the wind itself whispered secrets meant only for him. From the distant mountains, the drumbeats grew louder, echoing through the riverlands. Rashid paused, listening to the rhythm, each beat stirring an unease deep in his chest. The elders' tales had warned that the Sila could bend reality, yet the pull of the unknown tugged at him, stronger than caution or reason. Somewhere nearby, the river sparkled unnaturally, and he could swear he saw fleeting glimpses of silver smoke curling above the water. Suddenly, the forest opened into a moonlit savannah. The tall golden grasses swayed, though no wind blew. Shadows moved in the corners of Rashid's eyes, shapes that seemed human, yet dissolved into mist whenever he looked directly. He felt the presence of something watching, waiting, and testing him. A soft, melodic voice floated on the air, almost singing, yet impossible to locate. Rashid's grip on his spear tightened, knuckles white against the polished wood. High above, the ancestral spirits stirred restlessly, their whispers carried by the night wind. "She is near. The balance is at stake," they murmured, fading into the distant echoes of the drums. From the village below, distant lantern lights flickered, and a sense of unease spread across the riverlands. A lone wolf howled, its voice trembling with warning, and the fireflies' glow flickered as if afraid. Then Rashid saw her. At the edge of the savannah, a figure emerged from the silver mist, a woman with flowing hair like liquid moonlight. Her eyes glimmered with hypnotic light, and her presence seemed to bend the colors of the night, making the air itself shimmer. Each step she took left faint traces of silver smoke on the grass. Rashid froze, mesmerized, sensing the pull of her power, the danger intertwined with beauty. His mind screamed to retreat, yet his feet held him in place. The Sila spoke, her voice a melody carried on the wind. "Hunter, seeker of truth, why do you wander into the unseen?" Rashid could feel her words as if they resonated in his bones. Every sound, the distant drums, the rustling grass, the river's shimmer, seemed to harmonize with her voice. His mind became a haze of desire and fear, each heartbeat amplifying the tension. The air around him vibrated. Silver smoke twisted like serpents, curling around tree trunks and rocks. Shadows deepened unnaturally, forming shapes that whispered threats. Rashid could see glimpses of creatures he had only heard about in elders' tales. Spirits, ancestral warriors, and mythical beings, watching, waiting. The forest, savanna, and riverland seemed alive, responding to the Sila's presence. Every step he took further into her world made reality blur with illusion. Rashid knew one thing. He had entered a realm where time, space, and danger were not what they seemed. Every sense was heightened, every shadow a possible threat, every heartbeat a countdown. The pull of the Sila's power was inescapable. The night had shifted from quiet mystery to a crescendo of suspense, anticipation, and unseen peril. The hunter's courage would soon be tested beyond any measure. Rashid's feet trembled as he stepped closer to the shimmering figure of the Sila. The silver smoke that trailed her seemed alive, twisting like dancing serpents in the moonlight. Every heartbeat echoed in the quiet savanna, blending with the distant drum beats from the mountains. The river nearby glimmered unnaturally, reflecting fragments of the Sila's form that shifted with each flicker of light. He realized the air around her bent, colors folding and warping as if the night itself obeyed her will. The hunter's breath caught when the Sila raised a hand, and the fireflies clustered into a glowing spiral, illuminating her face. Her eyes, deep pools of silver, held both kindness and danger. "You seek what is hidden, brave hunter," she said, her voice a haunting melody. "Yet not all that is revealed brings safety." Rashid felt an overwhelming pull. Curiosity, awe, and fear intermingled, making his senses sharp, almost painfully aware of every rustle of grass, every whisper of wind, every shimmer of smoke. Suddenly, the ground beneath the savannah trembled, as if ancient forces had awakened. From the tall grasses, shapes emerged. Warrior ancestors, their spectral forms clad in faintly glowing armor, eyes like embers. They circled Rashid silently, their presence both protective and warning. The Sila did not flinch, yet the mist around her thickened, forming patterns that resembled wings and serpents. Rashid realized she was testing him, measuring his courage and his heart. A sudden flash of silver illuminated the riverlands, revealing another secret. Hidden ruins half buried in the sand, adorned with carvings of mythical beings, jinn, and ancient kings. Rashid stepped closer, tracing the markings with his fingers. Each symbol seemed to hum, vibrating in the cool night air. The elders' tales had mentioned a hidden place where the mortal world and the realm of spirits intersected, but he had never believed it could be real. Now, before his eyes, the stories lived and breathed. The Sila's voice rose again, soft yet commanding. "Here, truths of the past meet the desires of the present. Only those pure of heart may witness the bridge between worlds. She stepped closer, and the silver smoke flowed into him like a warm, electrifying wind. Rashid's mind was flooded with visions. Villages untouched by time, battles of ancient warriors, kings swayed by mystical forces, and spirits guiding their people. Every vision was vivid, full of sound. Drums, the rush of river waters, whispers of ancestors, and the faint rustle of wings. Rashid realized the Sila's illusions were not mere tricks. They were lessons and warnings. The beauty and danger intertwined, creating a tapestry of knowledge that could either guide or destroy. A chill ran down his spine as he understood the magnitude of the discovery. She held the balance of worlds in her hands, and his choices now mattered more than ever. The Sila's silver smoke flowed around him, forming shapes of mythical beasts and spirits of the mountains and riverlands. Her eyes locked with his, and in that gaze, Rashid saw both the peril of desire and the promise of wisdom. The night held its breath. Every sound, the river, the wind, the distant drums, seemed suspended, waiting for his next move. In that moment, he understood. This encounter would change the fate of his village, the spirits, and even the distant mountains themselves. The night deepened, and the savannah seemed alive with shadows that whispered secrets only the wind could carry. Rashid's heart raced, still ensnared by the Sila's hypnotic gaze. Her silver smoke swirled thicker, stretching into shapes that mimicked warriors, hunters, and kings from centuries past. Each illusion seemed real, yet fleeting, leaving Rashid unsure of what was solid and what was magic. The river's silver reflection fractured, mirroring his growing unease. Suddenly, a chilling voice echoed from the ruins. Who dares disturb the balance? It was Azar, a spectral warrior ancestor, eyes glowing with ancient fire. The spirit stirred violently, circling Rashid in a protective but threatening pattern. He gripped his spear, sweat running down his face, realizing the trial had grown more perilous than he had imagined. The Sila stepped closer, her form now half human, half ethereal smoke, every movement mesmerizing, yet menacing. The illusions shifted violently. The fireflies scattered, leaving the forest edges dark. Rashid could hear the faint hum of drums, growing louder and irregular, like a heartbeat of the land itself. Winds tore through the savannah, carrying the scent of incense and smoke. The Sila's voice, soft moments ago, now held an edge of warning. Your heart is tested, hunter. Every desire, every fear, it is reflected here. Choose wisely, or be lost to the illusions forever. Rashid's mind swirled. He saw visions of his village aflame, kings kneeling to invisible powers, rivers flooding the savannah, and ancestral warriors clashing with spectral beings. Each vision felt possible, each more real than the last. Fear and awe battled inside him. He realized the Sila's illusions were not mere tricks, but mirrors of the soul, reflecting his courage, his doubts, and his deepest desires. Then came the emotional twist. Among the illusions, Rashid saw a figure, a young girl from his village, smiling and calling for him. His heart ached. The pull of human attachment clashed with the mystical demands around him. The Sila's eyes softened, but the smoke around her twisted into serpentine shapes, signaling danger. He understood. The illusions were teaching, but the lesson was harsh. To proceed, he had to confront his own attachments and fears. The ancestral spirits surged closer, spectral swords gleaming, warning him of failure. The river's flow seemed to quicken, and shadows from the mountains stretched unnaturally, forming walls that trapped him. Every sound, the drums, the wind, the river, the whispers of spirits, blended into a tense symphony. Rashid's breaths came in quick gasps, but he forced himself to focus, realizing he could no longer be led blindly by desire or fear. With a sudden clarity, he saw the path forward. He did not need to flee nor surrender. He had to face the Sila fully, acknowledging her power, the danger, and the illusions, but without letting emotion cloud his judgment. The Sila's smoke curled around him, almost caressing, almost threatening. The night held its breath, waiting for his choice, as the mountains, forests, and riverlands themselves seemed to pulse with expectation. The conflict was no longer external alone. It was Rashid versus his own heart, courage and perception. Every beat, every whisper of wind, every flicker of firefly reminded him that the journey was as much spiritual as physical. The illusions intensified, testing every fiber of his being. Yet within that challenge, the seeds of discovery and strength were planted.